So back with Minion, and remember, Michael's dad just turned himself into the cops, and Michael was trying to get away in the SUV. We'll see if his driving is like the driving of Sidekick and Andrew the Sensationalist. We'll see whose driving's better. So this chapter is called Chapter 10, Under the Stars, 264. New Liberty welcomes me quietly. I make it to a part of the city that I am at least familiar with before ditching the car. I'm surprised I made it this far. Surprised that I didn't crash into anything, or at least anything that didn't give easily, mailboxes notwithstanding. Surprised the police helicopter didn't track me down. Surprised I wasn't followed by sirens. Then again, they probably had their hands full. A mastermind and his army, a vigilant hero and his sidekick, two criminal organizations at each other's necks. I was the least of their worries. I find a parking lot and leave the keys in the ignition. First come, first serve. Let someone else steal it and create another trail. I tuck the box, my father's last box, into my pocket, and I do my best to clean my face. The knuckles on my left hand are skinned raw from my unfortunate attempt at boxing. I have chafe marks around my wrist and ankles. There is a scratch beneath my chin where the knife got too close, but otherwise I look pretty normal, for me anyway. I look up to see what I've parked right across the street from, a White Castle. Not the White Castle, just a White Castle, but I still can't help but feel like I'm back where I started. I start walking away from the sun that was nearly finished setting behind me. Heroes always ride into the sunset, I tell myself, and sure enough, there it is in the sky, the big blue smudge set against the bright orange and pink black drop. The comet, his work is finished, which means the worst of it is over. I half expect him to just land right in front of me, materializing from out of nowhere like a magic trick, but he doesn't. Maybe I'm the least of his worries too. I rub my raw wrist and shuffle down the sidewalk, keeping my head low. I don't want to draw attention. I need to find a television, just to see, just to make sure he wasn't hurt. The last time the cops surrounded a father of mine, I ended up an orphan. I pass a group of people coming out of a restaurant called the Fighting Irishman. One of them holds the door open for me. I said thanks, then stop him just as he is about to leave. Hey, did you watch that big announcement? I fish. I'm afraid I didn't have time to get home. Total bust, the guy says, snorting and shaking his head. Some big spiel about pledging our allegiance or some deal. Then all of a sudden the camera cuts out. Apparently the comet showed up, took down the dictator and a whole mess of other guys. It's all over the news. No doubt. I thank him and slink through the door. Restaurants like these always have bars, and the bars always have televisions. The hostess looks at me strangely. Probably they don't get a lot of teenage boys with swollen fingers and torn clothes smelling like sweat and gun smoke on a Monday night. I force an innocent smile. Just one, I say. She lets me seat myself, and I find a booth right across from one of the 4 television sets. All of them turn to the news. Most of the faces are turned to it as well, soaking in it eagerly. Tragedy and triumph, hard to resist. When the waitress comes, I ordered a diet soda, just so she would leave me alone for a minute. There's live coverage from the news chopper, hovering over the scene. It's a mess. There is smoke coming out of one of the windows of the farmhouse. One police car sits in the ditch, riddled with bullets. Another sits belly up. There is a giant chasm in the side of the barn with an SUV wedged into it. A getaway attempt gone awry, I guess. There are cops of every kind swarming the field, probably looking for clues. And that's just what is happening on the surface. Imagine what they found underneath. Between the cops and the reporters and the mob of eager onlookers, it's hard to make out any one of the face in the crowd. I see a few of the men who Mickey bought being cuffed and stuffed into the back of cruisers. I see one gloved officer carrying a stack of steel masks, carefully tucking them into plastic bags. At one point, I think I even catch a glimpse of Zach glancing out the back of an armed van. If these are Tony's cops, they aren't doing their job. Everyone is being rounded up, taken in, no matter what group they belong to. Tony will have to rely on his paid judges to get him out of this trouble now. Nowhere do I see the dictator, nor do I see my father. My only hope is that he was one of the first ones taken. The camera cuts to the on-scene reporter, the same blonde I've been watching off and on all week. the one with the overly dramatic pauses and the two large teeth. I ask the passing waitress if she minds turning the volume up a little. Yes, John, I am here live on the scene of what is undoubtedly the biggest bust in New Liberty's history. Turns out this simple farm right behind me sits on top of a huge underground lair of the villain known only as the Dictator. The same man who vowed to change the world has been brought to justice by the city's latest and perhaps greatest hero, who has once again left his calling card for all to see. She points and the camera pans to show the streak of blue starting to blend into the darkening sky. I look toward the windows of the pub instinctively, but all the blinds have been closed. It's all right. I've had my fill of the big blue stain. The reporter continues. It has been confirmed that the Dictator is in police custody along with 30 of his personal henchmen and at least 20 other known criminals, including Tony Romano and Mickey Six Fingers Maloney. In fact, the first to be arrested was this man. The camera cuts to footage of a man with a bushy orange hair being loaded into a patrol car. As they shut the door on him, my father turns and smiles at the camera, smiles at me. Take a deep breath and I let my body go limp. I reach for my glass to take a drink. A self-proclaimed inventor who is currently believed to have been working for the Dictator and may even be the mastermind behind this whole operation. And snarf it, the bubbles burning their way up my sinuses, the soda squirting out of both nostrils, splattering the table in a fizzy mess. My father, the mastermind. The waitress comes back to the table, towel in hand. Her name is Darlene. She looks glumly at the puddle I've waterfalled through my nose, but wipes it up anyways. You okay? She asks. I'm not about to answer the question for real, so I just nod. Crazy, ain't it? She says, following my gaze. I tell you, I've lived here 15 years and I've never seen anything like this. That comet is something else. Can you believe he did all that by himself? I shake my head. I guess we are lucky to have him. Though between you and me, she says, leaning down and whispering, wish I knew what else that fellow in the silver mask was going to say. You really don't, I tell her. She gives me a dirty look and then asks me if I'm going to order something to eat. I shake my head and she pulls out her writing pad, writing up the bill for the soda that's still burning my nostrils. On TV, they've cut back to the news desk for more updates. It's all stuff I already know, of course, but to them it's late and breaking news. The weapons found in the lair, along with all the equipment the Dictator used to create his little army. Details about the nature of the shootout itself. Then they say something that gives me a pause. Authorities say that at least one suspect, a young Caucasian male in his early teens, managed to flee the scene in a black SUV. They are currently looking for any clues regarding this identity or whereabouts. I swallow hard. I'm the wanted man. It feels strange being wanted, sort of sickening and awesome at the same time. I look up at the waitress, but she is oblivious. She slaps my bill on the table. He's a hero, I guess, she says. I can only assume she is referring to the comet. I wait for her to go, then look at the bill. I owe her $1.70, but I don't have any smaller bills. I guess tonight, Darlene will have two heroes. He leaves the $100 bill on the table and head back outside, making a point not to look anyone in the eye. Who knows what Tony or Mickey's men are telling the police right now. And the Dictator? There's no way he's going to let me off the hook. The authorities may have him now, but guys like him, they find a way to get free, to start over. I need to find some place to go, at least for the night, at least until I figure out what to do next. Someplace safe. I run my fingers along the box in my pocket, hoping that it is what I think it is, hoping that I still know the way. Where do you think he's going? What do you think is in the box? Takes almost 2 hours on foot. I don't want to risk taking a bus or a taxi. After what they said on the news, I'm thinking the fewer people I meet tonight, the better. I keep to the shadows in the alleys, feeling every bit like I'm up to no good. I only pass one police car, headlights shining, but its driver looking the other way. All the rest are probably either at the barn, back of the station, or somewhere in between. Still, I give a wide berth to every stranger I pass. Every dog bark, honked horn, and slammed car door makes me jump. Only when I get to the neighborhood just past the ball diamonds do I calm down a little. Everything here is still just as it should be, untouched. I keep to the rows of manicured bushes and evergreens, dodging the pools of gold cast by the street lamps. The houses are all quiet, and I marvel for a moment at how peaceful it is, how the driveway lights automatically bloom when you pass them, how there are no cars parked anywhere along the street. I retrace my steps till I am standing right outside her house. I circle back, around the back, sneaking through the fence left open, remembering which room she said was hers. The master bedroom. Her light is on. It takes some scrounging to find a rock the right size. I don't want to break the glass of the window. For once my aim is spot on. I wait for a few seconds, holding my breath, until finally a hand pulls back the curtains and opens the window. Arise, fair sun, I think, and please, for the love of goodness, let me in. Her face appears in the window. Viola? The instrument. This isn't Shakespeare. I look up at her and smile, but she just stands there for a moment, as if she doesn't even recognize me, as if we've never even met, and I suddenly feel like I've made a horrible mistake. Then she leans out the window, propped up on her elbows, chin in hands. What are you doing here? She whispers. I brought you something, I say. I already told myself I wouldn't use my powers. I won't force my way in. She'll either have me or she won't. I reach in my jacket and I pull out the box. She bites her lip, then glances behind her, and for a moment I think I've lost everything. My house is in ashes, my father is in police custody, and now she's going to turn me away? But then she points to the giant recycling bin by the corner of the house. She says, "Climb." So I do. It's a bit of a struggle. The bin buys me only an extra 5 feet, but Viola reaches over the ledge and takes both of my hands in hers, hoisting me up without much apparent effort. Though she seems to wince a little just as she pulls me inside, she puts a finger to her lips as I get to my feet. Shh, my mom will kill you if she finds you here. I look around. It looks like a typical teenage girl's room. Pastel-flowered bedspread, purple walls splattered with peel-off butterflies. I notice a telescope in the corner and one shelf lined with softball trophies. There are posters of a few pop bands and vampire heartthrobs with the latest trilogy. A stuffed animal, Mikey, the chickopotamus, watches me from the bed. You kept it? I whisper, pointing to the prize. Of course, she says. Viola comes up to me and stands beside me. She is wearing pink flannel pajamas with satin cuffs, decorated with peace signs. Her hair is wet. She smells like soap and perhaps the faintest hint of smoke. Or maybe that's just me. I can't even imagine what I must smell like, what I must look like, and what she must think of me. Where's your dad? I ask. Working late, she whispers. She sits on the edge of the bed and past the comforter, and I take a seat next to her. I listen for sirens, for helicopter blades, for her mother's footsteps, or the sound of her father opening a door. A few hours ago, I was strapped in a chair surrounded by men with guns, about to be forced to brainwash an entire city. Yet sitting here next to her, I am just as nervous, maybe even more. But I had to come. I didn't know where else to go. I won't stay, I say. I just wanted to give you this. I dig in my pocket and I hand her the black box. She takes it gingerly, hesitantly, running her fingers over the smooth metal and the 2 sleek buttons. Stopping at the label with my name on it, she looks at me. Are you sure it's for me? Only one way to find out, I say. I take the box from her and tell her just to watch. Then I tiptoe over the door and turn out the light. Michael, she says, her voice clipped, suddenly not quite hers. Don't worry, I say, sitting on the bed next to her. I press the green button. Suddenly, her ceiling explodes as it transforms into a dome of the sky. It's as if the whole universe is unzipped and laid bare. Planets and moons and meteors shimmering and streaking, and stars, thousands of stars, millions of them. I hear Viola catch her breath as she falls backward on her bed, enveloped in starlight. No walls, no boundaries, just infinity of beautiful. It's beautiful, she says. I set the box on the floor, the galaxy still spinning above us. It's genius, I say. I sit there watching her as she traces the patterns with her eyes. It's just like I remember, she says. Then she reaches up and takes me by the arm, pulling me down beside her. The 2 of us lying there side by side. I can feel her heartbeat racing even through her pajamas. She begins naming the planets and the constellations, pointing with one hand, even as the other reaches out and takes mine. It's amazing, isn't it? I don't say anything. It is amazing. It's all amazing. But but it only reminds me of my father. I imagine him lying on a cot in some cell, staring up at the gray ceiling, stuck in another box, while I lie here beneath this perfect system that he created without even having to ask. There could be anything out there, she says. I turn to look at her, eyes twinkling in the glow of the 1,000 brilliant suns, so bright I can't even stand it and have to look away. I'm not an idiot. I know what she means. There is an offer here, an opportunity. There could be anything, but you still have to choose. You can't have it both ways. And it feels so good here beside her. But this isn't me. I've made my choice. I can't stay. But I'm not going to run either. I've been thinking about it the whole walk over, weighing my options. I'm going to bust Dad out of prison. I figure it won't be that hard. I just have to talk to the right people, get their undivided attention. I can be very persuasive when I want to be. Then maybe, together, he and I can track down my mother, ask her what the damage is, why she told the dictator about me, why she left in the first place. If she ever really loved my father, I'm not looking for a weeping reunion. I know better. I just like some answers. I twist my head and see that Viola isn't looking up at the artificial sky anymore. She's looking straight into my eyes. I should go, I tell her, though it takes every ounce of will I have to say it. She rolls over onto her side, grimacing slightly at the shift. She still has my hand in hers, fingers entwined, pulling me in. And I'm certain, so suddenly certain of all the things I've suspected about fathers and heroes and promises and girls you just happen to run into at the mall who laugh like pianos and give you pennies for more than just good luck. Who know your magic trick already, but still act impressed when you do it. Viola squeezes tighter. It's all right, she whispers. Stay here, she says. I know which side you're on. And that's how it ends. Just like that. There's lots of unanswered, lots of things to think about in this book. And no, there's no more books that go along with it. But that's it. That's the book. So I'm curious to think about I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this book and your thoughts. And I don't know. There's lots to think about. But Minion is done. You should be able to take the AR test now. I sent your parents an email on how to do that at home. So hopefully you guys can do that and get yourself some points. I'll read another book soon. See you guys.